Welcome to Holistic Health and Healing, a show offering solutions for the body, being, and beyond. In each episode, we discuss topics that empower you to take a holistic approach to step into your unique voice in this world. Now, here are your hosts, Dr. K and Hank Sedela, the Sonic Shaman.
Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to the Holistic Health and Healing Podcast. And today's topic is all about judgments and removing the lenses of judgment that we're taught to look through, not just as kids, but all through life. We're taught more and more, like, here's how you look at the world through these lenses, because everybody wants us to align and agree with them. And it's so easy to not even notice that we're doing it. We don't even realize that we're in judgment or that our vision is askew. And cool. And where should we start our amazing conversation?
It's so cool that you brought this up, because I was thinking, I caught myself this weekend doing this, judging somebody else inadvertently, but it wasn't intentional. It's just every time these are so sneaky, and these have an effect on your health too. And there's something else that came through this morning, a little tidbit that I'll probably toss in here as we get started. But judgment affects so many. It's judgment of self, it's judgment of others, it's judgment of situations, it's judgment of conditions, it's judgment of your health. It's so many different angles of judgment, but judgment of others specifically can cause health problems, believe it or not. It can affect your prosperity, and it affects your life, right?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I always say that if you really turn the vision back to yourself, all judgment at some point is self-judgment. Because if we are judging somebody else, where have we done that in order for us to even have a frame of reference to judge them? So it's always good to look back. And I want to vocalize what I wrote up in the write-up for this stream today. My friend Param, he does this workshop, Why Life Sucks, a global voyage to overcome a misery of everyday living. And he has a great example of how judgment affects us. And this isn't the write-up for the stream today, but he would start by, giving this example of researchers that are going to go to this island and research this culture that's been untouched by modern humanity, right? And the first thing he does is he sees people, he's pretending to be a researcher. Oh my gosh, these people don't wear clothing. They're barbaric. And he takes a pair of glasses from the audience and he puts them on. And then he says, oh, and they go to the ocean to use the bathroom. They're uncivilized. And he takes another pair of glasses and he puts them on. And then they live in huts. They're so primitive. Takes another pair of glasses and puts them on. And keeps going until he has like 5 pairs of glasses. And then he says, can I really see these people? Because I'm looking at them through the lenses of how I'm taught to look at these things. And now I don't even see the culture. I don't see who these people really are. And that's what judgments do to us in a respect, is they put in this, like, it's like stained glass. We're looking at the world through this filter, this lens, and it taints what we can see. And it's so important to take a step back and actually ask, what is the truth about what I know? And that's like a tool to start stepping out of this space of judgment and these filters that we're taught to look at the world through.
Mm-hmm. Judgment will lock you up like nothing else. It will, when you judge others, especially, you might as well write them a check. If you are judging somebody prosperity-wise, look at them. I can't believe that they're driving this guy. You just wrote them a check. Because instead of using law of judgment, I suggest using law of increase. How cool for them that they have this. I can do it too. Judgments, it's like throwing energetic little daggers at things. And I caught myself doing it this weekend, but not intentionally in a bad way, but it's still a judgment. You have a judgment around a situation. So you really have to catch yourself. So I give everybody this exercise and try it. For the next 24 hours, drop all judgment about anything. See how that goes.
Ooh, that is
don't judge anything.
Don't judge anything.
This is interesting. That's it.
Including being judged. That is like the real a big piece too, because so many people are judging us, and good judgments or bad judgments both stick us. Like, oh man, you're an asshole. No, I'm not. Oh yeah, I'm beautiful. Yeah, I am. Like, both of those is an alignment and agreement that locks you into a polarity, and you might look yourself through the eyes of an ego with a little bit more bravado than maybe you. And instead of, like, there's a difference between receiving a judgment and reacting or aligning with the judgment. Receiving a judgment is just allowing someone to be in the space they're in with whatever point of view they have. But if you align and agree with and resist and react to it, it's like you're now in this tech day. we call it in shamanism, this for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction type of thing. And it will lock you into more polarity and then start to skew how you look at the world where you find anything similar to that. But we kind of like judgments when they serve us and they kind of like stroke our ego. And that can actually lock you in even worse than a judgment that you're fighting against, because at least when you're fighting against it, you know it doesn't work for you. So maybe have a little bit more awareness around it. But the good judgments, it's like the frog in the hot water. It gets boiled and doesn't even know it. It's really easy to not see when that's happening and the effect that it could have.
Yeah. When you are judging anything, especially when you judge things harshly, you are muddying the waters. So it's like the lenses. You are not seeing a situation for what it is. And the key really to life, if you want to know, is really surrendering to everything and just having this like not being carefree in respects. Just, oh, this is interesting. So you don't have this pull in either direction and just maintaining a state of high vibe. We judge so many things on so many levels all day long. So for the next 24 hours, catch yourself every time you judge. Oh, look at that person. He just cut me off. Oh, look at this person's doing this. I can't believe they're mowing the lawn in the rain. What an idiot. It happens all day long.
Well, an invitation, when you do find yourself in a judgment like that, ask yourself, truth, is it mine? Because a lot of times we're so aware of things that what if you're aware of somebody else's judgment about themselves and it's not really your judgment? And I think this happens a lot more than we give credit for, because a lot of us, especially if you're like a humanoid, a lot of us by nature aren't really judgmental, but we have a lot of judgments. And what the key thing to become aware of is, wow, what if that judgment isn't mine to begin with? What if I'm just aware of somebody else's judgment about themselves, and now I'm judging me for judging them when it was their judgment the whole time?
It's a tongue twister.
I know, but really, like, think about that. Like, how many judgments are like you find yourself looking at someone like, oh my gosh, look at this person, but really, is it your judgment? Or are you aware of them judging themselves? And now you're judging yourself for being aware of their judgment. And what space could you be instead of saying like, oh my gosh, judging yourself, where it'd be like, wow, that's so interesting that this is coming up for me. Who do I truly desire to be in creationship to this? And then holding a space for a different possibility, reframing it, whatever the case, like, wow, they must have really fallen behind. Like you can tell a story around it, but really, like, if the person mowing the grass in the rain, they must have a lot going on in their life to be in the situation where they're choosing this. I'm just going to send them a little bit of energy and love, like not compassion, not judgment, like just I'm going to send contribution to them if required, and not even having an expectation if it's received or not. But that starts to shift out of this place of judgment, especially if that person is mowing the grass because they were told to, and they're trying to avoid the fight with their wife. We don't know. And they're just out mowing the grass because, we don't know what the situation is. So just to see the actual truth of it, like, wow, that person's making an interesting choice, and taking the judgment off of it, we can really step into a whole different possibility then. If
you could live every day like that, you would feel so much lighter and brighter. And that's the goal of life, is to get lighter and brighter. This is like, you never know what's going on in somebody's life. So there was a guy that like went past me doing like, I don't know, like 90. I was doing 50 on Crocker. I'm like, I shouldn't be speeding either. But it's like, I'm like, he's going to hurt somebody. He's crazy. And I'm like, okay, wait, there was a judgment. But you don't know if that person is speeding because if they don't get to work on time, they'll be fired, or somebody at home can't, whatever, is having an emergency. You never really know what's going on in somebody's life. And even if they are kind of an idiot and not being cautious, avoid the judgment, because when you start throwing those things like that, you'll notice how you feel. And do you want to feel that way, like heavy and angry and frustrated? And so that was a little judgment, but there's so much judgment that I see with people all day long. And from, I listen to my clients talk sometimes, like, oh, there's just a lot of judgment. We are angry at other people. We want things to be a certain way. We judge ourselves like unbelievably. That's another one that's just crazy. But yeah, judgment is a really, really, really sneaky thing. And if you could drop all judgment for 24 hours, just watch and see, like, anytime you judge any kind of situation, as little or as big as it can be. And the other funny thing that we do is we'll judge a situation, then we'll go, and I'm not trying to be mean or anything, like put this positive
wow.
flip
We
in the
know where
back.
this is going already.
What else do we say? Like, what's the other thing that, like, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, and not, or we'll say, we'll put a positive at the end or in the beginning, and it's like, I'm trying to think how I phrase it sometime. Like, I really love so-and-so, but this person's just, so we try to make it right. We try to make the judgment right.
Right.
You know what I
know
mean?
that whenever you say the word but, you linguistically negate everything you said before that. Like, Dr. K, I love your outfit today, but like, do I really like her? And I'm over exaggerating a little bit with the way I'm saying that. However, and yet those are cool transition words instead of using but. Like you can start getting away from that, or using but intentionally, because that is we'll talk about that a different, like, work towards Halloween. I'm going to do some streams about how to get in touch with intuition, and the word but actually could be a little trick of getting in touch. But I wanted to it's actually Mike is saying, Dr. K, be mean. He wants to see you be mean. Oh man.
I am too nice, so I am working on using more firm, loving compassion, because we do have the need to be loved and liked. And this is probably another thing that ties into judgment. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, it does. But
the need to be loved and liked.
We're going to be butting our butts all day today now. Right. The thing I was going to say with that is compassion, discernment, help. All these things are judgment light, because we were instilled at a young age that superiority exists. And in order to be compassion, you have to look at them a certain way. In order to help people, you have to look at them as actually being in need, instead of being the infinite being they truly be and never really needing anything. I really love to shift out of the space of discernment and compassion and helping, as looking at everybody's experience as a play or as a fairy tale, right? And we're all in this field of living energy, the Kause Pacha, and we are all interacting with each other. And really look at yourself as an actor in somebody's play, and do I have a role to play for them? And if so, look at that as you're just contributing to them, to the role. You're not needing to help them. Their soul is fine. Their soul is going to get home regardless of your judgment, interaction, or anything else. So truly, what if we could shift out of the need to help people and judge people, and recognizing that everybody's where they're at perfectly. The soul's getting the contrast that it needs. We don't need to judge the telenovela horror story of their life. Right. And even that's like a little bit of a judgment there, right? But I'm doing judgment light here just to make a point. We're really just all interacting with each other, just like Into the Woods, if you've ever seen that musical, or Once Upon a Time, or any of these things. What role do I have in their play? And how could I play that role without judging them or judging myself for playing it? And then really step into choosing actions out of awareness instead of what your perceived reality is through the lenses of judgment. And you really can totally shift like how you're interacting with people. You move from relationship to creationship. We talk about that a lot. You move from the kingdom of me to the kingdom of we, because if we are all one and you are the only one in the room, any judgment you have is judgment of oneself. And so what would it take for you to move out of that and into the space of just being the contribution for the contrast, not judging it, and really being thankful for everything that shows up, even if it's perceived, terrible or whatnot.
Yeah. Being thankful for everything, even being thankful for your disease, your condition, whatever you're going through right now. It's there to teach you something. It's part of the soul's journey. It's not going to stay there. It's going to move forward. Time moves forward. We don't stay in the same spot. Change is constantly happening. So I'm reading a book on Secret of Miracles. I can't remember the title. That's how bad. But I was reading this point on responsibility. And it makes this point of saying your only responsibility in this life is for the advancement of your own mental well-being and your own mental advancement, pretty much. So it lists all these other things that we see as responsibilities. And now we're getting a little off topic, but I see a lot of giving more of your energy than you need. And when you give too much of your energy, your body will get sick. That's one reason you're expelling too much of your energy. You're not receiving enough. We were going to talk about receiving today, but it's a constant cycle. And when you take on all these duties that you don't even want to take on, or when you get so entangled in feeling you have to save somebody, you're looking at a situation and judging that I need to help this person, I need to save this person, I need to help my mother-in-law, because it's like it goes on and on and on, and you're depleting your own energy. There's nothing wrong with self-love and putting yourself first. You are your biggest responsibility in this life. You are your own biggest project in this life. There's a difference between, what was I trying to say? That there's a difference between having self-love and being selfish. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
Because
that's what I
most
put up.
people,
Self first versus selfish. I had it ready for it.
exactly. And there's no harm in this. And most people see that as, we have so much judgment, I guess, against being putting yourself first, because that's being selfish.
Right.
We see that as morally wrong. I need to help my family. You actually don't. So Hank's very right. The soul will get to wherever it needs to go. You're a contributor, and maybe you're helping them along and moving that dial a little bit to help them through something that they're moving very slowly, turtily through, So nobody is responsible. You're your only responsibility, really.
Truly. And then the other freeing thing is, and I just streamed for the first time on my own. I think on Saturday, I did the first illusion from the 10 illusions, or from Communion with God with Neil Donald Walsh. And the first one is that need exists. And there's like these 10 illusions. And if you don't have an expectation of an outcome in life, if you don't have any expectations, you're not going to judge anything that shows up. You're not going to, it makes it really easy if you realize that nothing's matters, so nothing matters. Why judge anything, right? And you just take it, whatever shows up, and then the only question you really ought to ask is, who do I choose to be in creationship to this, and what ways can I choose to be, like, do things in the world that are going to be an expression of that being? And now you're taking all the external stimulus out of the equation, and you're focusing on, who do I choose to be? Do you choose to be ease, joy, and glory, happiness and joy? Or did you choose to be doom and gloom and like, oh my gosh, look at life happening to me instead of through me? This sucks. Like, really, it's the space that you're holding. And based on the space you're holding, the universe then delivers to you opportunities to express that being through doing. And if you can focus on that inner thing, because you're the only one in the room, and so am I, all the judgment really can fall away much easier than you think. And you can really fast track it. But to your point, at the very young age, how many people were taught, what are the neighbors going to think? We're taught to put other people's judgments ahead of our own knowing, right? Offer this to everybody else first. Think of Office Space, Milton with the cake, right? Make sure everybody receives a piece, right? So now he's not being self first and making sure he gets cake, and everybody else gets cake, and he's left without it, and he ends up setting the building on fire, right? But really, like, take care of yourself first, and if you do, then maybe, just maybe, you're going to be a greater contribution to all the other aspects of divinity around you, which is all you.
Yeah, and the other thing that just came through, how often do we judge others for putting themselves first and saying that is wrong?
Yeah.
Look at so-and-so.
Judgment. Yeah, but maybe that's judgment of you not putting yourself first. That's the
really
thing.
It's a mirror. It's a total mirror of something telling you, hey, it's okay to put yourself first, but you were taught otherwise. So we so often judge others. Look, he wouldn't leave a piece of cake for somebody else. He just took it all. He drank all the wine. He just drank it all. He wouldn't leave any. He doesn't even say hello. He doesn't hold the door open for anybody else. These little things, we judge others so much when there's nothing wrong with putting yourself first. And we judge that so often when people put themselves first.
Right.
So yeah, there's a difference. Selfish and
we don't know their story. And this is another example of Param. And then I have a personal story from yesterday I can tell people are interested. But he gives this example of when he worked, I forget all the specifics, but every morning his boss would come in, and I think I've shared this on the stream before. Every morning his boss would come in and say good morning to him and then go to their office. Well, this morning, boss comes in, just zooms by their desk, and he says, okay, well, my boss is a jerk today. So we don't know the story, though. All we know is boss passed, but based on prior data, ego, I'm judging my boss and, wow, they're a jerk today. And now, not only that, a couple hours later, I find out that my boss has invited 3 of my colleagues to lunch, and I'm not invited. Wow, my boss is unfair. Now later on, he finds out that the 3 colleagues were on a project that wasn't going well. The boss had gotten a call the night before, hey, this needs to be put on track. He wasn't invited because he wasn't part of the fuck up. He wasn't part of making it not happen. And so he wasn't invited, but here he's looking through the lenses of unfair, unjust, not right, and I'm being left out, and he's all in the space of self-pity, where really all the data that was presented is my boss passed my desk and my coworkers are going out to lunch. We are imprinting all this other data on top of it based on our judgments of situations. Now, my judgment from yesterday, I got pulled over on the way back from an event. And the thing is, like, so the cop thought I was totally inebriated and drunk or whatever, because And I've been sober 15 years. I'm like, there's no substances in me or anything like that. I'm driving home and I only have like 20 miles left for the gas station, right? And so like I start navigating to the next gas station. Now, as soon as I start navigating, of course, it's like exit off to the right, and that was the exit I needed, and I missed it. So now I'm getting off at the next exit. There's another gas station, and that gas station is closed. So I'm trying to like get the phone to navigate me to the next 24-hour station. And guess what? I'm not paying attention, and I'm kind of moving over the road a little bit. And then I finally get to the next 24-hour gas station. It's like turn left. So I like make this sharp left turn. I'm like, and then the lights go on and I get pulled over. Cop comes up and he's like talking to me, and I'm completely coherent. I'm having an adequate conversation with him. I'm updating the app on my phone to bring up my insurance card, giving him my license, like telling him what's going on. And he's like, I have to be honest, man. I thought I was going to pull you over and you're going to be completely hammered. And he's like, he's pleasantly surprised or whatnot. Still ran my information, just gave me a warning. But look at all the judgments that police officer had. Wow, this dude's a bad driver. This guy's drunk. This guy's a lunatic. He just told this turn and all this crazy stuff. But the truth of the matter is, I was just swerving and I made a sharp turn, and all the other data was imprinted based on past experience. I also used the Inca weapon on him, which is like this energy technique where you pull all this energy in and launch it at a situation to get out of it. And I've gotten out of a couple tickets that way when I've done it. But I mean, but at the end of the day, like look at all the imprinting judgments. I'm sure we all have our own stories where we're making assumptions. We all know the adage, when you see me, make an ass out of you and me, right? And then once you have the whole context of the picture, all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I'm such an ass. But now we're in self-judgment of that. What would it be like to not even judge you when you catch yourself judging you, and instead be like, wow, that was an interesting space I went to. What energy could I be in the future to not go there where I just went? And we catch ourselves. And 90% of this is just being aware enough in the moment to catch yourself when you go there and make a different choice, because 90% of this stuff happens unconsciously based on our autopilot programming, which is all based on judgment. So if you can just show up, then that's 90% of the battle. And the rest can really become easy. But we are so prone to not even showing up for our own experience. It's very interesting what we choose.
Yeah,
what we don't choose.
What we don't choose. Total past programming. These are not things we had as kids. We are taught boxes. We are taught judgments as kids from our parents, and we just take on that energy. And then mom and dad thought that this was right. So, this must be the right thing to do. And I grew up in a family that was very judgmental of other people, of other races, of food, of situations. Like, you can't wear that dress because what are people going to think? That dress is too short. You can't wear it. Like, your hair has to be in pigtails because, well, if we wear it down, how is that going to look? And this has to be, I remember my dad used to, so I'm European, I'm Ukrainian, and my dad used to write, so if somebody gave me a gift, my parents you got to send a thank you letter. So he'd get a card, he would write it out, and then he'd draw me these lines in pencil, and then I would have to write exactly what he wrote because the response would have to be perfect. And it gets into so many different little levels, from tiny things to bigger things where we really dive in and get angry and make massive, massive judgments and throw daggers at people. Stop it, guys, really. Awareness is the key, because you have to start gaining awareness to catch yourself at this time, because it happens like this. And I caught myself. I'm like, how many times during the day do we make these judgments because we're just so programmed? So slowing down, catching yourself every time you make a little judgment or even a bigger judgment. As you gain awareness, you're going to be able to catch yourself. As you catch yourself more, you'll be able to stop the process. So for the next 24 hours, gain awareness from and catch yourself every time you judge anything from little, like, oh my gosh, my floor is filthy, or man, I look like crap today. Those, from the bigger things to my boss sucks, to, or my coworker sucks, to all these bigger things. The judgments can be tiny to much bigger. And the more you can kind of get a grasp on these, the better your life will become. Because like I said, these bigger judgments we throw at people and situations and circumstances, it really does start to affect your personal life energetically, meaning you will repel things in your life, the good things that are trying to come to you.
Definitely. And a couple things there. I've talked about this app before. There's an app you can download. It's called Who Does This Belong To? I bring it up because you can set the timer interval, just little dings throughout the day, because a lot of this, The real issue with trying to do this for 24 hours is just not remembering and not being present to actually be accountable and catch yourself in the judgment. But this little app, every once in a while, is like, bing. So like whenever it goes off, just be like, okay, what am I aware of right now? Are there any judgments I need to look at? And just have that be your cue. You could have it every 3 minutes, every 10 minutes. You can set it for it to be random. But just for the next 24 hours, if you need a tool like that, it's going to give you the prompt to remind yourself to, hey, let me go ahead and I'm going to respond through the day instead of react through the day. And that's a great clearing we can run. Everything that stops you from responding throughout your life instead of reacting throughout your life, destroy and uncreate all that shit. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. We got to get at least one clearing in, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a link on my website, hanksella.com/clearing statement. I have a video posted there that goes into a little bit more of a deep dive of that clearing statement. But truly, like, what would it take for you to actually show up for your life and choose based on what you know instead of based on what you were taught to perceive? And everything that doesn't allow that, destroy and uncreate it, right? And wrong, good and bad, pot and pot, call it, cheers, boys and beyonds. Oh, that's a juicy one.
Yes.
Yeah. So everybody replay the video. That's your homework. Replay the video a couple times right here, and like listen to that clearing a couple times and get that a couple layers of that gone. Because like when we are reacting through the lenses of all the judgments we were taught to perceive the world with, and we're just flipping through on autopilot. Mm-hmm. And then when we do something really bad, quote unquote, air quotes, and then we're like looking back, we're like, that's totally not me. Why did I choose that? And the reason is because you weren't showing up 90%, 99% of the time. Or maybe, well, who knows what the real percentage is. But a lot of the time, it's just you reacting through based on what you were taught versus what you know.
Yeah, we react very, very quickly to things. So it's catching yourself with these times. Yep.
And one great tool, and for those of you who are new to the show and things of that nature, Dr. K, at least twice a month, we do like little energy clinics. And one big thing when you are reacting through life, know that as an empath and as an Awarian, I prefer the term Awarian, actually. I'm going to retire empath because there's so much morphic fields around empath, being dramas and like, oh my gosh, I'm like the victim because I'm aware so much. But we are like, minus the judgment, we're all like super hyper aware. So call yourself an Awarian, whatever word you want to use. But what would it take for you to have that awareness and just make pure choice instead of having all the judgment? And I actually completely I was going with the energy clinic stuff. But like to get rid of the 98% of the stuff that you're aware of that's not yours, that's imprinted in you because you're judging what you're aware of, that's the real shift here. Like, what would it take for you to not judge what you're aware of and to just use it as data for choice instead of, judgment for hanging on to it? To get rid of that 98% of the stuff in your field that's not yours, whether you want to come to our energy clinic or if you pick up some meditation or some yoga, like choose something that, maybe I don't know. I've never done yoga long term to know if it gets rid of stuff like that, but do something that's going to start getting rid of the stuff in your field that's not yours. Because if 98% of the stuff in your field isn't yours and you can get rid of that, based on the 2% that's actually yours, you can probably make much better and more aware choices in your life. So if you are looking for something, there is Dr. K at Amai's energy clinic, and we have one on Thursday. There's like a couple spots left, and there's the link. It's also in the description of the video. You can check that out. Or if you just go back and watch a whole bunch of our past videos, I think we have like what's the process that you gave an example of?
Paramitas.
Paramitas.
Yeah, I can't teach that here because I really have to do that kind of in person, but that is another way to unwind some of these things that are going on. And come to our energy clinics because Hank does his process, I do mine. And when we throw judgments or judgments are thrown at us, because here's the other tricky piece is somebody may be throwing a judgment at you, you're not even present. So somebody right now may be talking about Hank and I and throwing some judgments at us. And there's a way that's an energetic kind of hook. Like, think of it as if you took some mud or a snowball and you threw it at somebody and it lands on their back and it leaves that little imprint. Hank and I have a way. It's an imprint. So think of people throwing snowballs at you, except unless you're super, 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 super aware, which a lot of times some people are, they can hear when somebody's talking about them, even though they're not present in that conversation. Like my neighbor could be talking about me right now, and the awareness could be that high. And I'm like, man, you start thinking about the neighbor. But somebody just throws something at you, and it's like a snowball, or think of it as a ball of mud, and it leaves like a little dirty spot. And how many times have people done that to us? Well, that's an energetic hook. And there's a way I clean that up. So I kind of just take a squeegee and I clean that off. So that's not on there anymore. So you have more clarity and you don't feel the heaviness of all these snowballs and dirty mud pieces somebody's thrown at you. Those are otherwise known as hooks, energetic hooks.
Yeah.
So we can clean those up.
The thing I love about your analogy, what I'm picturing, is when the snowball hits, if you don't take care of it right away and it starts melting on your field, it might work its way in and then start causing problems. So like, just to be aware of all that stuff, like clear your field, like do whatever tools you'd like to do. And there's all kinds of stuff. Like when we work with people, I usually give at least one energy technique based on what you resonate with. Are you an earth person, a water person, a fire person, an air person? There's like different elemental energies that you can use to help clear your field, whatever is going to come up for you or whatnot. Or go hug a tree. Get out into nature. Nature is like the natural squeegee. And we are so disconnected from nature. But man, like a tree, it transcends worlds, the upper, middle, and lower world, deep roots into the underworld. Give your heaviness to the tree. Lay on the earth, go barefoot, get grounded. There's so many things that just walking, they've shown it in science, just walking in the woods for like 10 minutes, like creates this huge state of equilibrium. So if you can't make it to anything else, go out to nature and give yourself do a kindness to you and your body.
There's absolute research on that. I've read about 4 articles already on spending time in nature and the benefit that has for depression, anxiety, etc. Nature will pull that from you. It will ground you. It will make you feel better. But for the hooks and things, you're heavy and you don't even know why you feel heavy, because people might be judging you. Your family may be judging you, and you're feeling the heaviness of that, yet you don't know why. So I know we're using the word why, but I'm using it purposefully.
That's okay. Well, if you use the word why, you're going to get another experience of why until you figure it out. Yeah, I highly encourage whenever you ask why, use this question instead, what else is possible? Because why is this looping question? You're like, why, universe? And the universe says, here's another experience of why. And it loops you right back and gives you another example of why. So when you find things showing up in your life over and over and over again, one way to break that cycle is to say instead, what else is possible here? And the universe is going to give you a different possibility instead of the same old status quo and giving you another opportunity to figure it out, right? So what else is possible? What else is possible? What else is possible? And everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive that, destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Got to get another clearing when we can.
Absolutely. I had a little other side note that came through this morning about just health and how does the body really heal. Part of it is this judgment thing and the responsibility thing. We take on so much stuff, and well, the body just it responds to your thoughts. And the doctors essentially aren't what heal you. What heals you is you. The doctor can only give you a pill. You have to put the pill in your mouth. And the other thing that really came through this morning is doctors, as I was listening to something, doctors, we are taught to focus on disease and finding a disease. So we're like, I don't want to use the analogy of a dog, but just like a squirrel or something that's searching for stuff. So we order all these, we're focusing on finding disease. So where does that energy go? And if we don't find anything, well, here's something anyway. Here's a pill anyway. When the body is actually, think about it, you cut yourself, the body heals. The body is designed to clean up its own mess. Your energy, your mental thoughts have a contribution to that because the cells respond to whatever you think. So if you think, you can think yourself into health. I say you can talk yourself into anything and you can talk yourself out of anything. And if there is a condition, then it is there to teach you something. Be grateful for it rather than repel it and be angry. When you're pissed off at it, what is the body going to do? Well, the body's, she's pissed off, so I'm going to be pissed off too and respond with a rash or whatever else. So it's this little compilement of things, but it's in our cellular memory as doctors to look for and focus on disease. What is wrong? What is wrong? What is wrong in this situation? And a lot of times they don't find anything wrong because that's not where the answer is. The answer is energetic. They call it idiopathic, meaning they can't find the answer. So they won't tell you they don't know. They'll call it idiopathic.
And I have to wonder too if some of that is is money driven, because I won't give names, but there's this hilarious story that happened at an event that I was recently at, where somebody ate some cookies in a refrigerator that weren't theirs, and they happened to be medicated cookies, and nobody knew this, and we ended up having to take this person to the hospital and everything. And I guess even when they had the intake, they mentioned something about these cookies and maybe there was something wrong. But did they order a tox screen first? No. They order a CAT scan and these other tests, and they were going to bring them in for an MRI, I think next. I don't. They were looking for all these things, and then finally, when I had the awareness that maybe there was this cookie as a culprit, when I found that out, I'm like, no, we really need to get a tox screen first. And of course, that's what it was. But that's not where they went first. They went to all these other places. We got to find something actually wrong with this person, instead of saying, wow, maybe they just had an edible and they didn't know that it was an edible because they weren't wearing their glasses, so they didn't see what was being labeled on the container. So
yeah, this is no fault at doctors. We are taught this, and they're very busy right now. And with everything going on with COVID, it just makes things so much worse. A lot of ungroundedness, lack of clarity, lack of really quieting yourself down to listen to the answer. It's so busy. But yes, to answer your question, yes, there are certain institutions, very certain institutions that I'm not going to name names, that the more you order, the more, actually it's in a lot of institutions, and it was even in where I worked, which I won't repeat that, but you got a bonus if you stayed within the system and ordered tests and all those things. Whoever ordered the most tests got a little perk. So yeah, it is happening, guys, unfortunately. And I'm not saying that that is the only reason, but again, the whole biggest message is they search for, we are designed to search for the problem and what is wrong, instead of, wait a minute, the body is designed to heal itself. It really is. Sometimes it needs a little help, and maybe checking to see if something's off, but then we focus on, even if something, there's so many, I can't even tell you the amount of times I've seen people on everything. I've done tests, everything's normal. They come to me and say everything's normal. They can't find what's going on. I've heard it on so many podcasts, can't find what's wrong, because usually it's energetic. It's not, or it's just completely missed. But a lot of times it is energetic. It is not a physical thing. It's the energy of the body that's having a problem, and the energy is not aligning with that person, and things are off. So then there's frustration. Then it's going doctor to doctor, trying to figure out what's wrong, and then even more of trying to find what's wrong instead of like what's right. And can we just be grateful for the situation? I know it's tricky. Who wants to be grateful for their whatever they got, fibromyalgia, whatever it is? But it's trying to teach you something. And where did you lead to this situation? Because there's almost always a stressor that happened preceding that condition. And when I ask, like, well, what was going on around that year? Well, I was taking all these tests and I had a really, really stressful job beyond what I could handle. The body went on overload. The stress energy, as I call it, and that's why I do the stress energy management, because the CDC even has it on their website that 80 to 90% of conditions are caused due to stress. So that's what came through this morning. It's in the cellular memory of doctors that we are designed to focus on the problem and digging to see what we can find. And then we don't find anything, and then the person's more frustrated because they don't feel good. And a lot of times it's energetic.
And I would invite everybody to consider that 100% of your stress is made possible because you have a judgment about what shows up in your life. And if you had no judgment about what shows up in your life, I would guess that you would have virtually zero stress.
We create our stress in our own heads.
Yeah.
Stress is not existent. You don't look out into the world there and go, look, there's stress there and it's there. It's not something you pick up and you throw out. If you looked at people, you would never know the level of stress that they have. So it's all in here. It's all like, not imaginary, but it's an energetic thing. It's not a tangible item. So we create all the stress and the judgment in our own, this little region right here.
And it sounds like doctor's a great example of it. You're taught about all these things, you're pressured by all these judgments and how you think you have to show up in the world. And the question to ask, whether you're a doctor or wherever you are in your life, is what would it take for me to forget what I've been taught and forget what people have projected on me, and to trust what I actually know?
Thank you.
Right. And if we can start shifting into that, for everybody, not just doctors, like everybody, we're all projected on our family, friends, society. This is who you have to be in the world. And that's part of being here. You know, this is a duality. we've signed up for contrast. So it's not a wrongness that we were taught these things. It is so that we can know ourselves experientially. So it's not even wrongness to judge it. But now that we've been taught to judge, if we can unlearn what we have learned, to quote Yoda, like really what else is possible to be in the space of context and not be burdened and shackled by other people's points of view about who we should be in the world and how we should operate.
Yeah, I was always taught like even if you don't know what's wrong, you got to give them something. So you got to give them a pill. You got to, and it's like,
nope.
It's like just really, if we could really help doctors awareness, just quiet, breathe. What's the answer here? What's the answer? What does this person need most? Because a lot of times they don't need a pill. Sometimes they just need an energetic clearing and some help because the world's freaking full of stress. Right. So yeah, there's so much to this.
And a lot of that comes to, and this kind of segues into maybe a closing thought even, because I know we're going long. We're only going to do 20-minute streams. Here we are 40 minutes later. But now that I forget my thought. Oh no, here's the thought. Is like we're the main illusion, the main thing that causes the stress is us being taught that we're separate from everything else and that we're alone in the world. And this, like, if you look at last week, our whole topic was you are not alone. And that it's a suicide awareness month. You are not alone. What would it take for us to move from the kingdom of me to the kingdom of we? And that is what, at least I can speak from my personal experience, that's what I was doing when I was drinking. I was medicating my gift of being an intuitive and an Awarian and all that. And then I was also, since I felt so alone and everything, that had the illusion of making me feel more included, even though it made me feel more separate. And so the greatest illusion to overcome is recognizing the concept of namaste. May the God in me, or the source in me, because some people don't like the word God, so Param that. But may the source in me see the source in thee for the highest good. And if we can truly look at everything as us, as separate, it's like waves in the ocean. I love this analogy from Neil. Instead of drops in the ocean, it's more like a wave. We have our individualization of consciousness rise up like a wave. You have your experience lifetime, you go back into the ocean. We are all the ocean, individualizations of the same waters of creation. Right. Yeah. And if you can really look at that, then we can start not fighting against each other and start creating with each other in the contrast and really have the golden planet. Right.
Yeah. There's so much separation right now, just mainly even with the vaccine. There's just so much. Somebody posted like, you're going to have this group of people and this group of people now. How much? Our goal is not separation. Our goal is to now work to be more together. And that's not what's happening. So, well, both are simultaneously going on, but we're in a time of awakening for that to shift, for this to be brought to light. We are here to be contributors to each other and help each other out. And I love it. I always love this line. We are all here to walk each other home. I don't know. It's just sweet and kind.
I love that.
As a contributor, just wherever you can pop in and give somebody a little love, rather than hate, that would be really beneficial.
Yeah, I think there's a quote in the big book that says, like, you'll intuitively know how to handle a situation used to baffle you, and then also walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe amongst your fellow travelers. There's even a reference to that. We're all fellow travelers. We're all waves in the ocean, and we're already home is the reality of it all. We just have to. We don't have to do anything, but what would it take to have the awareness of that and then to express that into the world? That's where you're in the world, but not of it. And oh my gosh, what a world we could create if we could, when we get there. It's happening, folks.
It is.
But even if you're thinking we're totally crazy, walk away with this. Energy flows where your attention goes. And what world would you like to create? And so when you're in the dogma of whatever polarity you're seeing with COVID or politics or whatever, if you're in the argument of either side, you're still in it. What would it take for you to rise up out of that dogma, out of the duality, be in the world but not of it, not judge it, and really start to shift and focus your energy on the unifying forces that we could have in this world. Energy flows where your attention goes. Don't focus on what you want less of in your life. Focus on what you want to create more of in your life, which I hope is unity in the kingdom of we. And if you'd like another dose of that tonight, shameless plug, and this is going to be available on replay too. I'm being interviewed on The Sovereign Self tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And this is a Voice of America show. And I'm going to be talking about taking your greatest traumas and dramas of your life, in my case, like alcoholism and getting through addiction, and turning that into the possibilities of your life. I went from, not being sober to being the sonic shaman and doing all this wonderful work. I didn't come out all pristine, polished and everything. I went through some major shit. And shit is spiritual human in transition. And this is just a story of taking your deepest trauma and drama and using it as a fuel for possibility to bring you into expressing your unique voice in this world, for the benefit of the we instead of me. So I hope you can tune in and please share that. It's already posted on my Sonic Shaman page, but I'll post it shortly after this. And when you see that, if you want to share that, just so we have a wonderful amount of people collectively on that call tonight at 7 Eastern, that would be amazing.
Yay. It's going to be great. I know it's going to be a great convo.
I'm already so looking forward to it. I had a pre-conversation with her, like, you had to interview to get on the show. And I totally forgot about it. And I'm actually interviewing for the show during a bars practitioner night. So I'm like running somebody's bars, like talking to the lady while I'm doing an energy process. And it was just like the most fun conversation ever. And she happened to know a little bit about access consciousness. So that was actually a great segue to our conversation. And then she booked me for it afterwards. So either way, it was a lot of fun. Any closing thought or anything for people from your standpoint, because I've been on my little rants today, what would you like people to mostly walk away from today with?
Yeah, just remember, you are your biggest project, not somebody else and not something else. You are your biggest project on this time while you're on this earth. And we get so diverged into other things and other people and attached to money, places, circumstances, kids, all these things. You are your biggest project. Work on you and changing your perception and caring for yourself and putting yourself first and your own mental advancement and getting better, being a better, brighter, lighter you. That's my thought.
That's awesome. And especially if you're the only one in the room, if you do that from the standpoint of not encroaching upon another aspect of divinity, that's where it's super, super awesome. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Self first versus selfish. That seems to be the theme today, eh?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please catch us for the Healing Clinic. That's this Thursday, virtual or in person at Emergence of Being. So you can find that up at emergenceofbeing.com under experiences. And we will catch you next time. Until then, stay aware. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today for the show. Holistic Health and Healing is part of the Emergence of Being Contributor Network. Visit us at emergenceofbeing.com for all of our contributors' content and to learn about our services and upcoming events. Please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. You can contribute to the show by supporting our efforts and sharing our content with those you care about and those who need it most.